In other chapters, I talked about how you can survive using normal ballistic guns and ammunition. These weapons are great because almost anyone can use them. I say anyone because they aren't just limited to any pony. Even though a lot of those inventions like gunpowder and rifling had been an Earth Pony influence, so many other creatures could use them. Earth Pony technology was always the great equalizer, bringing the unicorns and Pegasi down to their playing field, and, by extension, many other creatures as well. Zebras, buffalo, yaks, giraffe, they were all put on an equal ground when a gun is involved. But while the Earth Pony spirit of inventiveness is very liberating, and many other creatures during the war developed technologies that mostly only benefited themselves, this was especially true for Pegasi and unicorns. While the Earth Ponies were mass-producing millions of guns and billions of ammo cartridges, the unicorns and Pegasi were working on their own kinds of weapons. They all loosely fall under the category of energy weapons. Energy weapons do not fire some kind of solid metal bullet, but instead fire a laser beam, or some kind of goopy plasma. These weapons are generally much harder to find because they were not mass-produced to the extent that normal guns were. Most of these were made for specialized military units during the war to serve specific purposes, or they were part of some kind of super weapon, like a gun as big as a building. Energy weapons normally work off a battery of some kind. They are charged with magical energy that is stored in a crystal solution inside of the battery. These batteries are as hard to find as the weapons themselves, so if you do happen to find any, you want to use them carefully. In practical terms, these energy weapons aren't too different from normal guns. The bigger the laser, the more armor it can shoot through, just like a bullet. There are a few benefits to energy weapons though. The guns themselves are usually lighter because they don't have to be made of heavy metal parts to contain kinetic forces. They just have to shoot the laser beam, or superheated glob of plasma. That plasma is usually the liquid crystal of the battery itself. It gets superheated inside of the gun with magnets and magic. Then it shoots out these glowing green streaks. Plasma is different than normal bullets because if it hits you, it can cause a searing burn that will keep burning if you let it just sit there. So, if you are hit with plasma, wash the area with water right away. When you see the last of the glow leak off, you should be okay. Well, except for a horrible burn. Trust me, I know a thing or two about burns, and they can do a number on you. Even though it sounds like lasers and plasmas are totally different, I include them together because they are actually very similar in a lot of ways, and because they are rare and mostly a bit different or specialized. Even after 200 years, I still come across a unique energy weapon that I haven't seen before. You can tell a lot of these differences by what color the laser or plasma is. Some lasers are stronger than others. Some lasers have a stronger EM, robot-killing field to them. Some lasers are beams that you can keep firing and slice a hellhound's limbs off, whereas others are just a normal zap. Some kinds of plasma are so potent that when you shoot something, it turns into a pile of goo. I was so freaked out the first time I saw that. This raider was shot in the side, and the bright green plasma looked like it swallowed him up until he was just a pile of green goo on the ground. Energy weapons can be very strong. Once I saw a fight in the distance, where a figure up in the building was shooting at something on the ground. He had this big silver-looking gun on his side, maybe on a battle saddle. When it shot, it fired a bright orb of energy. It didn't quite look like plasma because all of it stayed together inside of a ball instead of streaking. But that orb had all of these lightning bolts around it, and when it hit the ground, and whatever he was shooting at, it exploded like a missile. If you do have some kind of energy weapon, you need to be careful. The shells of the batteries are usually pretty tough, but if you see one that is cracked and especially leaking, you should get rid of it. Both of those signs mean that it could potentially explode when you plug it into a gun and try to use it. The weapon will heat up the battery and the liquid crystal could boil you instead of the monster you're shooting at. You should also be smart about what you use your energy weapon for. In my experience, they are really good against robots. However, they are also not quite as good against ghouls or some other monsters. So for them, you might want to just stick to normal guns. So just like with normal guns, you'll understand your unique energy weapon better as you keep using it. You might even discover a hidden property, like the laser being able to shoot through magical force fields. You never know what kind of effect it might have, so don't be afraid to try.